What's going on, you guys? Petplatypus here, and it's time to talk about Seven Deadly Sins, chapter, what was this, 164, I believe? So, this chapter of Seven Deadly Sins, it was pretty much just like a funny, kind of badass chapter, one of those unconventional badass moments that Seven Deadly Sins likes to do. You get the finishing of Elaine and Elizabeth's fight, which is basically just the dudes get sucked into the ground, and then we move on to Bon and Meliodas. And essentially, they just argue over who has the best girlfriend and who appreciates the tits and the ass more. Obviously, very pressing issues, very political. And they're arguing about that shit, and the two bird fucking demons are just trying to attack him. He takes off fucking Bond's arm. Bond's just like, oh man, where'd my arm go? And fucking Meliodas is like, hey, don't change the subject. Or maybe it was the other way around, but it was just really funny. This thing tries to attack Meliodas, and I was like, okay, it can't take Meliodas' head off, so what's it gonna do? Its arm broke off on Meliodas' head. So they're just like so strong that they don't even need to actually do anything. They can't even be hurt by these things, which is just insane. And when Bond throws a punch, he ends up taking out one of them, trying to hit Meliodas, and then Meliodas kicks him, and he takes out one trying to hit Bond. They don't even notice that this shit's happening, and it's just very funny. I will say Bond talking about, like, oh man, it's so silky smooth to hold Elaine. It's like, bruh, you can like Elaine because she's way older than a child, but don't talk about her body because she is the body of a child, so you sound very creepy. But that nitpick aside, it was a pretty fun chapter. Like I said, a very unconventional, badass chapter, and then we're moving on to King and Diane. And what's interesting about that one is that I was kind of thinking, I was like, well, for one, they're fighting the stone or whatever, those clones of the Fairy King and the, what was they, Giant King, or I forget what they called Dolor, or Dolor, or whatever the fuck his name is. I forget what they called him, like he was like a god of the giants or something like that, but they might discover that that's who they are in this fight, so that's kind of interesting. And then I also thought maybe that, you know, some of Diane's memories could come back or whatever, and by the end of the fight you could have, like, that storyline finally put to rest. Hopefully that can happen. And, what else? And it was kind of funny, I guess, you know, nosebleed joke. I'm not really a big fan of those, but, you know, he starts coughing up blood, or, it looks like he's coughing up blood, kinda, but he's covering his nose as well. And she's like, you haven't even been hurt. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe they used a power on him. But then he's like, but in this situation. And I was like, oh, okay, he's fucking between her tits, or she's sitting on him, or something like that. And yeah, he was between her tits. And I have no idea why. He can totally fight on his own. That's kind of weird, but maybe there's a reason. I don't know. So I guess that's going to be the next fight. I was kind of hoping some of the main characters who are going to throw down, like, against heavy hitters would be later, because we do have some... Well, I guess I can't really say joke fights or, you know, fights that aren't going to be interesting, because I don't really know the extent of some of these guys' powers. Some of these fights could be really badass for all I know, so I'm excited to see them, but I thought most of the main characters were going to be sprinkled in, you know, throughout, but we'll see what happens. There's still more main characters. But so far the fights have been pretty okay. They haven't been too predictable. I mean, obviously who's going to win, but I mean, that's obvious. So... yeah, nothing really else to say about this chapter. It was just a fun, enjoyable chapter. Bond's creepy talk was a little bit annoying. Not annoying, I mean, it was just... it's like a nitpick, but it's not going to, like, detract from the chapter. It's just kind of a funny thing to point out. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I'm missing anything. I guess Diane and King caught the attention of the Fairy King. Well, oh my god, I just, like, practiced it before I started recording. It was, like... Gloxina or something like that, and then the other one's Dolor or whatever. I don't know. They caught the attention of those two, so that's kind of interesting, I guess, but I don't need to point out every single tiny detail. It's just kind of interesting. So, I'd say probably a solid 7.8, close to an 8 out of 10. It's definitely above good. I don't know if I'd say it's a very good chapter, but it's definitely above just being your average good chapter of Seven Deadly Sins, because like I said, I like the unconventional aspects to it. It was paced well. I mean, I guess the conversation went on a little long, but that's kind of obvious since all that other shit's happening with them accidentally beating the shit out of their opponents. So, yeah. So the pacing was, fine, and then the artwork was all good. I didn't really have any problems following any of the art, which can be an issue occasionally on Seven Deadly Sins. So, yeah, I give it like a 7.8. It's an above good chapter of the Seven Deadly Sins. So, anyway, thanks for watching this video. Tell what you guys thought of this chapter of the Seven Deadly Sins in the comment sections below. Follow me on Instagram or add me on PSN. I'm petplatypus on both. Give this video a thumbs up and share it on your social media. Those would both help me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already or if you like what you see in here. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.